everybody. Happy Friday. Anna Sabramwoods here. Hope you're having a fabulous end of the week. Probably just waiting to pack up, go home. Listen, I want to leave you with this thought because yesterday I ran a training webinar. It was fun. It was like super awesome energy, and I got a lot of great questions. And usually when these things happen, I'm like, this is an awesome question. And I think most people would probably benefit from hearing some perspective from me about what I think about this question. So the question is, let me just set it up a little bit so that you know the context. So basically, we're during the training, I really talked to you about just a different way of engaging people, which has to do everything with storytelling, right? And it's kind of interesting, the questions that come up sometimes, there's a hesitancy because I think some people think that their audiences, their learners are different. Do you know about this? Have you felt like this? So here's the setup. I don't think so. I'll present the kind of the framework and the situation and share some examples, and somebody will say, I don't think that'll work for my learners because they're name a profession, because they're accountants, because they're engineers, because they're doctors, because they're lawyers. So what will happen is that person will put the learner in a box. Let's say this, and this is the profession box. And then blanket them with this profession without thinking about the bigger piece. Before, these people were doctors, lawyers, accountants, all those serious things, right? IT people. Before this, they weren't born this way. They were human, right? They're still human. They were human. Humans, through evolution, have brains that are magically attuned to story. In fact, our brains are so addicted to story that we will make up stories in our own heads. When we go to sleep, we'll dream stories. We love stories. Stories work. Stories rock. And so when you're designing your interactive story to get people from a certain state to a different state, you can't think of them as a state of an engineer. You have to think of them state of a person, right? A person going someplace, and they happen to be an engineer. So my tip for somebody who's kind of stuck like that, and where's that fancy thing I have? Oh yes, here. So by the way, if this is something you're interested in developing for yourself, like taking it to the next level and augmenting your current e-learning practice with something really powerful, then go to elearningsecrets.com to register for, I have a webinar coming up. You can check it out and maybe join. It'd be awesome. So what I suggest is, when you are thinking of your learner, first think of them as the character. Remember the 3 elements of story? Character, desire, something over here. Desire, let's put it here. So they're trying to get to here, right? And in a great story, you can't just have somebody want something, because that's lame. You have to have somebody want something and something's in the way, right? So over here is conflict. When you're thinking of story, right, you'd never think character lawyer, character accountant. You think person, human, wants something. There's something getting in the way. Once you've got that figured out, you can still add the conflict is very much contextual, but it doesn't always have to be. Because sometimes, tell me if you think this is something you can relate with, sometimes we can offer people the best procedures, the best processes, and they can be on top of their game from the outside. But the conflict is actually their confidence. So it has nothing to do with their profession. It has nothing to do with who they are in the world. It has everything to do with their inner game, right? So that's why we talk to people who are in the game, because you want to figure out what that stuff is. Because sometimes it's not that you can't find your procedures, that you're not following through on protocols. It's because you are afraid to, or there's something else holding you back, or there's a belief about that thing that you hold that messes you up. So it's not, so that's why I want you always to step back from the profession. Think always about the human that you're trying to build up and have them have those ahas. It's always a person, right? Before they are that profession. The profession just adds a context. So I hope that was helpful, kind of gets rid of that like, this won't work for our people X because they're still human. They still got the same awesome brains, which are amazing. Tap into that. Because what happens is then after you look at it from that perspective and you realize that you're designing not something from some homogeneous group that you know nothing about or you can't relate to or that nobody else can relate to. They're just people that chose to do something. But now what happens is you get to engage them on a deeper level, because the reason we're using stories is to have them change their beliefs. And you can't do that unless you engage them emotionally. And you can't do that if you're approaching it from a perspective of a profession, because that means you're not looking at them as a whole picture. That's the only way you're going to be able to do that. Because doctors don't have feelings. People do, right? Lawyers don't have feelings. People do. So you have to step back and think, what does this person think? And this person happens to be a doctor. Okay, here's some things that, that I'm trying to overcome for doctors. But it's still people. So if you're enjoying this, you want more, sign up, elearningsecrets.com. Would love to see you in my webinar. If you have any questions, post them underneath. If you like this and you want more of this content, share it or upvote it. Give me a like and then I'll make more. All right? I hope you have a fabulous weekend, friends. And it was so wonderful to have you here, and take care. Bye.